Madam President, members of the City Council, those in attendance, and all the citizens of Lafayette, it is my honor to deliver to you my State of the City address. I'd like to begin by thanking our citizens. The strength of any community is its people. I'm proud to be part of a community where collaboration is valued, where government, faith-based groups, schools, and social service organizations come together. I would like to thank the City Council, who work diligently to represent their constituents. Cindy Murray, our City Clerk, and my dear close personal friend for all of her hard work. The Board of Works, and all the members of our boards and commissions who give of their time in service to Lafayette. I'm honored to work with an incredible group of department heads who comprise our leadership team and all our dedicated city employees. As you are aware, one of the responsibilities of the City Council is to be the fiscal body and to ensure the wise use of our tax dollars. I'm pleased to report that we are once again in a strong financial position. The current rainy day fund has $7,011,334 in it. In 2004, that fund had $11,200 in it. Our operating balances have increased. We have developed investment and debt management policies that continue to work well. We have $6,685,000 in edit reserves, which brings our total reserves to $13,696,334, which is 29.4% of the general fund and 17.7% of the civil city budget. I'm also pleased to report, as you know, the 2023 budget actually lowered our tax rate. Our utility finances are in a strong position, and our tax increment financing districts all have positive cash flows. So overall, we are in very good financial condition. I'd now like to discuss public safety. I know this is a topic for folks, and discuss how safe our community is and present an accurate and transparent accounting of statistics actually over the last 21 years of data in our community. We will be discussing Part 1 crimes that we report to the FBI and are considered the most serious offenses. They're homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, auto theft, and arson. The overall news is good. Part 1 crimes in Lafayette continue to trend downward. With the help of analyst Micah Lupa, we went back to 2002. That's 21 years of Part 1 crime data. And the fact is that in 2002, there were 3,400 Part 1 crimes in Lafayette. In 2022, there were 2,253. That is a decrease of 1,147 Part 1 crimes over that period. So we'll take a look at the first graph there, and I can't walk away from the microphone, so this is going to be a little hard. So if you look, for the audience, if you look at that first graph, you can go back to 2002. You can see where the 3,400 is of Part 1 crimes, and you can look that we've tracked that over the years up to 2022. It goes up, it goes down. You can see where the peak of the opioid crisis is, 2013 to 2016, and that's when those numbers were the highest. If we could go to the next graph then. So we tracked that and looked at it then by percentage. So if you look at 2023, which actually was a little higher than 2016, that number is 3,819 Part 1 crimes. That's the highest number we've had since 2002. If you look at where that number is now in 2022, that is actually a 41% decrease in Part 1 crimes in our community since that peak in 2013. If you go back all the way to 2002, wasn't the peak, but it was a lot of years earlier, That's a 33% decrease in overall Part 1 crimes in the community. And I think that represents a tremendous job that our police department is doing. If you remember in 2016, the drug epidemic, the opioid crisis was sweeping the entire United States. I went back and looked. Governor Pence spoke about it in his State of the State address. Loretta Rush, the Chief Justice, was giving presentations around the state about the opioid crisis. And here at the City of Lafayette, that was the year that we announced our initiatives to increase public safety along with what we were seeing in the opioid crisis. So we announced our initiatives, and then we've continued to put in initiatives through our long-term plan all the way up to today. So a lot of times, I'll get asked, well, what are you guys doing about crime or about public safety? And really, it's for all of us to work on, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But just for the sake of the public and for the sake of the council, I want to go over at least the majority of, not all of them, because it would take too long, of the initiatives that we have started since 2016. We started a take-home car program for our officers. That year, we budgeted 5 new police officers and a new dispatcher. We created the Community Outreach Division. We took a multifaceted approach to dealing with abandoned houses and hired an additional housing inspector. We opened up additional spots on the Street Crimes Unit and the Drug Task Force. We hired 2 full-time criminal analysts. We hired a downtown security officer. We created a 4th captain's position, the Captain of Special Operations. We created the ARC, the Analysis Response Center, inside the police department next to our dispatch center. We increased to our CSI. We've always had crime scene investigators, but now we have an additional crime scene investigators that are civilians. They're not sworn, they're civilians that are doing that all day, every day, looking through all the digital type of information that you receive in the course of a criminal investigation. Phone records, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, all of those things that people do that might give a clue. So we have 3 civilians doing that full-time too, on top of the other sworn crime scene investigators that we have. We also deployed 8 flock license plate recognition cameras. And as you remember, for those of you that were on the council at the time in the Board of Works, we brought it, we had a press conference about it, we were open with the public, we explained why we felt these were necessary and important, and it went very well. And I want to give you some information on how well that's actually worked. So since we've deployed those 8 cameras, and we have 2 more that we should be deploying soon, it has led to numerous arrests for hit-and-run accidents, auto theft, drug offenses, felony warrants, sexual assaults, domestic batteries, aggravated batteries, and assisted in locating vehicles involved in shootings and homicides. These arrests have resulted in the recovery of stolen vehicles, stolen property, drug seizures, gun seizures, and vital assistance in numerous investigations. The LPR cameras have also located in locating missing persons, tracking criminal activity, and they provided leads and information in solving local, state, and federal crimes. More than 20 hit-and-run suspect vehicles have been located and the drivers cited. 15 stolen vehicles have been recovered, and over 80 arrests are attributed to the system. In addition, we started a drone program. We worked with community organizations to help provide services to our families and youth. We are financial partners in the new YMCA and the North End Community Center. We restructured the detective division into 2 new groups, the Special Victims Unit and the Violent Crimes Unit. We also, tonight, with the help of the City Council, will have our new community advocate and resource navigator position going out to daily help the police department with cases involving mental health, addiction, and as we talked about, we really hope to grow that program to 2 to 3 people. That's just a kind of a good example of all the different things that we've been doing and that we are continuing to do day in and day out with the police department. If we go to the next graph, I think it's also important, Lafayette has really grown. We've grown, I think, way more than the census has said we've grown. I think the COVID really messed up the census numbers. But even if you use those, most of the time when you hear about population growth, just kind of all types of crimes start to go up at some level. There's just more people around. Of course, Lafayette is during the day and night, we are the center of everything from healthcare to shopping to entertainment to employment, you name it. We're the center of a big portion of central Indiana. But as you can see, even though the population has grown, those Part 1 crime numbers have still continued to track downward. And I think that's something else that's very important to point out. I want to talk now something I know has got a lot of attention lately, and I want to make sure the council and the community really understand what's going on and how we look at this and the tremendous work, again, that I believe the police department is doing. So this graph here shows crimes that have been committed involving a firearm by year, where a firearm was discharged. It is possible to create a crime, do a crime, obviously, with a weapon, but without discharging it. But this is one where weapons were discharged. So if you look at 2020, you can see we have it listed by homicides, shootings with an injury, shootings with no injury, and then just shots fired. So I know it seems a little confusing, but you have situations where there's a homicide, then you have situations where people get shot for various things happen. I mean, it could be in the commission of some type of crime. It could be different things in a domestic violence situation, but where someone doesn't pass away. And it can also be in a situation where, we had a situation recently where a 3-year-old got their parents' firearm and ended up discharging the firearm. So there are a variety of things that can lead to discharging a firearm where there is an injury. Then we have ones where there are no injuries. The difference between that and shots fired, again, you can explain this, is that there was potential that there could be an injury in those, right? Maybe somebody shot into a vehicle that could have been occupied, they don't know, or at a house or something like that. So that's one of the situations where somebody could have been injured, but they were not. Then the final one is just shots fired. For whatever reason, people shoot guns into the air. They shoot mailboxes, stop signs. They shoot different things, right? But we track, for people that ask, well, what are you doing? We track all of them. As you can see, every single one of those are tracked. And with the reassignment and the restructuring of the detective division, someone is assigned to every one of those cases, even if it's just somebody shooting up into the air. And if we can prove that they did, they'll make an arrest because the bullet has to come down, right? So we take it very, very seriously. The police department takes it very, very seriously, and the strategies are starting to work. So if you look at 2020, there were 110 total incidents of all the different things that could have happened. In 2021, there was 94 total incidents. In 2022, there was 70. So that's about a 36% decrease. So we still have work to do. We know that. But the things that we're doing are working. And I don't know that there's anybody that could argue across the entire country there are more guns in the country than there ever been, and more individuals that are willing to use those or use violence as a source of solving a problem. So this is reality. This is what's going on. This is the breakdown. Joe Clyde and Detective Division, him and I met, and we continue to meet. They track every one of these. And so I'm proud of the work they're doing, and we're going to continue to work on that. So in summary, the Violent Crimes Unit is assigned, somebody's assigned to every one of these cases. Fortunately, most of our shootings do not result in someone passing away. And the vast, vast majority of all our shootings involve people that are involved with illegal narcotics, some type of criminal enterprise, or unfortunately, domestic violence. And that's the really, the sad one there is the domestic violence. So that also makes it challenging, and I'm ad-libbing here a little bit because you just never know where they're going to happen or when they're going to happen or what triggers something in a family or a relationship for those to happen. So kind of again, in summary, overall crime is trending downward. The total number of Part 1 crimes is lower in 2022 than it was in 2002. 2022 was the lowest number of robberies in 20 years. 2022 was the lowest number of burglaries and larcenies in 21 years. We are very excited, and we continue to find new ways to fight back. Our new $51 million Public Safety Center is on track for completion in 2023 and will be a state-of-the-art facility with cutting-edge technology leading us into the 21st century to further reduce and address criminal activity. So we're very excited. That should open about the end of March. And there are things in there that we have never had before in the past, and we're very excited about that. I will say again, the men and women of the Lafayette Police Department are doing a tremendous job. The City of Lafayette's initiatives are working, but the reality is we need every citizen to do their part to keep this community safe. I said this today, I'm ad-libbing here. When we were with the governor and everybody today, I applauded him for the legislative recommendations he's made for public health and for schools and to get teachers' pay and more money into the schools. Because the reality is the police department can only do so much. There are only so much that they can do day in and out. If you want to reduce overall crime, you want to make your community safer, you want to make sure that we have the workforce of the future, the citizens we want in the future to be the next leaders, the talent that we want, great employees, all of those things. The number one thing we have to do is take care of our youth, right? To ensure that we raise our children in a way that they are not involved in family traumas, that they are not involved in situations that lead to mental health issues, substance abuse issues, or making poor choices that lead them into criminal activity. That's the long-term solution to this. If we don't do that, you can't expect, those numbers will never be zero, right? But the best way to get them as close as possible is to ensure that our youth grow up in healthy, supportive environment. We know a lot of them are challenged. They don't have role models at home that they need. So that's what we talk about. When every citizen has a role to play, that's what we're talking about. We need people to become CASA volunteers. We need people to be big brothers and big sisters, to work at Hannah Center, Bauer, give to the United Way, be involved in our schools, support early childhood education, support more counselors in schools to help these kids. That's the key to almost everything that we do, to ensure that these young people have those opportunities, have that stability to become good citizens, a good workforce of the future, and good leaders of the future. And so I challenge, there were 750 people there today. I asked each and every one of them, you know, what can you do? What can you do to help a child in the community? All right, we're going to talk about the fire department here for just a minute. I'm also pleased to report that the fire department maintained its ISO rating of 2 placing it in the top 1% of all fire departments in the country. So there's about 40,000 fire departments that get ranked. It's a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is the worst, 1 is the best. We're at a 2. A city our size is going to be hard to get to a 1, but we're going to keep after it. But a 2 is, like I said, 1% of all fire departments in the country. It's important not only for safety, but for the insurance rates that people pay. So being a 2 is a lot better for everybody than if we were a 10. So I'm also pleased to report that we have purchased 8 new fire trucks in the last 9 years. And I'd like to thank the men and women of the Lafayette Fire Department for their outstanding service. I would like to give, it's going to embarrass him a little bit, but I'd like to give a special heartfelt thank you this evening to Chief Richard Doyle, who is also my friend, and who will be retiring this year. Chief Doyle served as chief for 11 years, and he's been on the department for 39, and he's down to a few months. His time is winding down. So Chief Doyle. Also, the Lafayette Fire Department administration will be moving to City Hall once the police department relocates to the new public safety building. They will occupy the first floor of the current police station. This will create efficiencies not only with the police department, but with other city departments. And for the first time, we will have a true public safety complex. All right, now we're going to begin the slideshow. Get to the right spot here, and I will try to talk fast. All right, here we go. Loeb Stadium. So Loeb's been open for a couple years now. People are just really, really embracing Loeb Stadium. We started our concert series with America this year. You can see all the awards that the stadium has already won, and we're just very, very pleased. Justin Moore was our second concert. Again, people really enjoyed it, and as you can see there, we hosted 174 events at Loeb Stadium in 2002. So we're very excited. It's worked out like we'd hoped it would, and we feel it has a very bright future. All right. We also want to talk some more about Parks and Recreation. We completed MURDOCK Park Playground this year. In 2023, we'll be redoing Arlington and Munger. We'll be in the design phase for a new playground at Columbian Park. The SIA playground has lived just about its useful life, and it's time for a new playground there. And also, we're really excited. Armstrong Park in the south end gets a lot of use, and we're going to create a new playground there that is going to have a much, much larger footprint than the current playground there, and we think people are really going to enjoy that. This is McCall Park. We're going to do substantial upgrades to McCall Park. As you can see, we're going to put in a new dog park. People love their animals, and we already have one, but we need a second one. This one's going to be really cool. It's going to have a pooch splash pad, all kinds of tunnels and things for the dogs to do, wash stations for the animals. People really enjoy spending time with their animal. It's a recreation for them, and we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs. We're going to add 110 new parking spots on the side with the playground on top of the 30 that were there, so it'll give us 140 spaces over there now as opposed to 30. Also, with the dog park, we'll be building a new restroom facility at McCall, so we'll have 2 there instead of 1. And that'll kind of take what we're going to do in the first phase. The second phase, we'll be adding 10 new pickleball courts, a new basketball court, and a new trail that will go around the whole park and then connect over on Union and Creasy to get folks to other designated trails and other parks throughout the community. So we're very excited about another busy year in our parks. We're also going to be upgrading our eagle and otter exhibits in the park. We're starting the design on the new primate exhibit and a new commissary building. So people love our parks, and just want to thank the staff at Claudine for all they do, but We're going to continue to make sure they stay in great shape, and we continue to expand those services. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pearl River. We're going to show you a video, just a few facts real quick. Since we've started the CSO projects in 2005, we've stopped 7.4 billion gallons of sewage from running into the Wabash River. Every project we've done to this point, all total, we're stopping now about 800 million gallons a year. So if you think about it, we had to start off slow, building the tunnel and everything, and it took us quite a few years to get to that 7.4 billion mark. But now that we're up to 800 million a year, we'll knock several years off by the time we get to that again. So it just shows how much progress we're making, and a huge hats off to Brad Talley and his team. Yep. First solar field. There's also a solar field on the roof of the new police station. Thank you. Again, hats off to Brad. As you can see, Brad was designated as a Hoosier Resilience Hero for all the work that he's done, not just for these, but for many projects and some other awards that members of his team has won. On that slide, I'd done the calculation. It took about 18 years to get to the 7.4 billion. Now that we're doing 800 million, in 10 years we'll surpass that. So we're really almost cut the time in half. So just a great job for what they're doing. All right, to the water department, as you know, we finished the MURDOCK Park booster station this year. That's a backup to the Columbian Park reservoir and another way of us pumping water, keeping pressure, fire protection throughout the city. And for the first time, we really have two alternatives. The Columbian Park Reservoir has been the only one really ever since it was created. So this gives us two alternatives. Great project for Steve Moore and his team at the water department, and we're very excited about what it means. I'm going to speed up a little bit. I can tell I'm getting those looks. So we're also building a new water tower out at Weall Ridge. That's a fast growing area of the community. This will help with water pressure and fire protection, and we're very excited about that. You've all heard about the housing shortages. We've worked very hard here to extend utilities at the proper times for a mixture of homes, business, industrial. We wanted to be smart about making sure we didn't vacate our urban cores, that we were smart environmentally as we went out into new green spaces and those things. About 10 years ago, we did a housing study, and we did studies with MKSK. As you can see, it's caused our downtown to boom. But it is time to extend those utilities a little further out into the county. We need ground for housing, and as we work towards other developments. So we're in the process now of doing the design on two service areas, 11B and 11A. This is the largest service area right there. When we do the first initial build out, it'll open up 1,000 acres for development, and over time, as we continue to build it out, we'll have the capacity to actually open up 4,000 acres too. So we'll all be gone by the time they need all that, but we are positioning the community honestly for the future and to make sure the next generations have the infrastructure and items in place to ensure continued growth and prosperity in our community. The next one's a smaller one. It's out towards Rainy Brook. That first one was to the south and east. This is to the south and west, out towards Rainy Brook. and it'll open up about 325 acres for additional development. So when everything's said and done, about 4,300 acres total. So again, thank you to Water and Renew and the engineer's office for everybody that's working on that. Next, we broke ground on our Public Works campus. As you know, we are going to co-locate street, sanitation, and fleet to a new facility located off McCarty Lane across from Cat Park. That's just about the geographic center of the city now, plus the building that they're in. We have definitely got our money's worth out of it. It's about 70 years old, maybe even a little older than that. And so this will allow us to be much more efficient, effective as we deploy trash trucks, recycling trucks, people that pick up the leaves, the limbs, work on the roads, plow the snow, across those multiple platforms. We'll be leaving kind of from the center of the city as we do that work. We'll have much nicer facilities, and the good thing, for the first time in history, we will be able to put all of our equipment indoors. So it will not be setting out year-round in the weather. So everything will fit, and we'll get it indoors. We did a lot of paving this year, 15 miles worth of paving and 9 miles worth of REJUVTEC. That was a lot of paving for us to get done in 1 year. And we're going to continue to try to keep that up. I do tell people, even with all that, that only represents about 8% of all of our streets, to give you an idea of the enormity of what we try to do. The good thing, if you remember that number, when people say we have every street in town tore up, you say, no, really, it's only 8%. Yeah, no. 92% of them are still wide open. So you heard a little bit earlier about affordable housing. We just wanted to make sure that people understand that the city knows that's an issue. We are a strong partner with Habitat for Humanity and through CDBG funds. Over the last, since 2008, we've given $3,878,100 to Habitat for Humanity here locally to build those homes. We've also donated several lots. So we are a strong partner with Habitat. As you also might know, we've helped with H38, Chatham Square, and the rehabilitations in the Glen Acres and Vinton neighborhood. So we continue to understand that we need to continue to work on that, and we need housing options across all grades and all pay ranges and all economic situations. So we're going to continue to work on that. All right, let's take a quick walk down memory lane. This is kind of fun. These next buildings we're going to show you are all public-private partnerships where the city has played a role financially through the use of TIF dollars and other things to make these projects possible. And if you think back, we're talking about vacant lots or almost empty, rundown buildings. In 2004, and some of you have been with Cindy and I the whole time, none of these buildings existed. So we're very pleased with where downtown has went. Our first project was the Renaissance Place. The next project was the Springs. After that, we went to the Mark. That was the third project we were involved with. Next was Pullman Station. That was the fourth project we were involved with. After that was Nova Tower, then the Ellsworth, and then finally, I'm going fast, I'm sorry, I'm going fast, the Luna. So those 8 buildings, as most of them were vacant parking lots, didn't exist when we started. So downtown has really transformed itself, and we continue to move it in that direction. Also, Jeff Ryder, for those of you that's been involved, as you know, railroad relocation property. We worked with Jeff. We moved some sewers. We did some different things with the Pearl River for the Luna and our building, and then moved some other stuff to allow some downtown development. So the Ryder development is now underway. He's committed over the next several years to spending almost $12 million building houses and other properties in that area, and so we're very excited about where that is going. All right, it was another good year economically. That's the new SIA Logistics Center that opened up. Also working with our neighborhoods. As you know, we have formal plans now with Wabash, historic Jefferson. We're working on the Lincoln neighborhood, and of course, we've worked for years with Centennial on the Centennial Townhomes and some other projects there. So we're excited to keep that going. It was a strong year for small businesses in our community. We know how important those are, and so really appreciative to all those small business owners out there for the investments that they continue to make. As you know, Lafayette, West Lafayette, and Tippecanoe County the last several years worked together to develop a comprehensive climate action plan for their community. Numerous meetings, focus groups, surveys, working with our local business and industry, but that plan is finished. And we now are moving into the implementation phase. So stay tuned for more information to come about how everybody can get involved as we ensure that we are a climate resilient community. And we've, really, as we did this and got started, it really made us take a look. And like I said, Brad did our first solar field at the station there. There's a solar field on the top of the police station, and before the year is over, we should have a third solar field under construction down at the wastewater treatment plant. So moving forward with a lot of good things. Trees are a very important thing in what we do. We wanted to mention this year that we've always been a Tree USA for many years, 30 years, but this year we were designated a Tree City of the World. And there are only 3 Indiana communities that have that designation from what I've been told. So we're very pleased with that, and we plan to continue to make work on our urban forest, our urban canopy, and our goal is to plant 1,000 new trees in the next 5 years. We talked already about the new Humane Society, so I'm not going to dwell on that, but you'll see construction start this spring, and so get ready. I want to talk just a little bit about quality of life. Things are going well at the Long Center, the Lafayette Theater, Loeb Stadium, and the new amphitheater at Columbian Park. Between the 4 of them, we're doing a variety of different types of music, entertainment, comedians. That's just really, really wonderful, and it's working out the way that we hope that it would. So, in conclusion, Lafayette is moving in a very positive direction. We have unprecedented economic growth, infrastructure improvements, park and recreational upgrades, quality of life initiatives, and our unwavering commitment to public safety. So thank you to each and every one of you and of all of our citizens for making this such a wonderful community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the council, we'd like to thank you and Mrs. Murray for your continued leadership and dedication to the city, and to all the city employees and citizens of Lafayette who continue to make this such a great place to live and grow. We thank you very much.
Madam President,